Okay, guys, so let's take a look at the next chapter, chapter 11. And it's talking a little bit more about the legislative branch. But instead of talking about the federal level this time, it's talking about the state level. So we're going to talk about how laws are made that only apply to one specific state. A couple of key words. The first one is a district. And a district is the part of the state that elects a representative or a senator. And then there's three key words here that will go into a little more detail in a couple of pages about how regular people can get involved in the legislative process. And those words are going to be initiative, referendum, and a recall. So we'll talk about those in a page or two. So the legislative branch of the state is very similar to the federal government's legislative branch. At the federal level, it's split into two pieces, the House and in the Senate. In the state level, it's two pieces for most states except for Nebraska. They have a one-house legislature. They usually hold sessions once a year, so they have a certain chunk of the year where they're working. And they have committees to study bills, just like the federal government does. And they also have a leader. Like in the federal government, the leader of the House is the Speaker of the House, and the leader of the Senate is the President of the Senate. And at the state level, it's a little bit different. They have the Speaker, and they also have someone called the President pro tempore. So I know it's going to be a little bit confusing because we're going to use a lot of the same terms for, like, the Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate. But what you need to understand is right now we are talking about just the state level. So this is only applying to just Ohio, not all 50 states. So it's split into two pieces, the lower house and the upper house. And the lower house is similar to the House of Representatives. It is even sometimes called the House of Representatives. Other times it's called the Assembly. And each state is divided up into these chunks called districts that are supposed to have equal population. And it's up to the state to decide how they're going to divide the district up. And at the federal level, the amount of representatives is based on population, but at the state level, the amount of representatives is really up to the state to decide how many they need. So Alaska has 40 state representatives. Each one represents about 10,000 people. New Hampshire has 400 state representatives. So you can see this is quite a bit different than the United States House of Representatives. They serve a 2-year term, and they usually only work as a state representative part-time. And they're often known as being part of the People's House. The upper house is more similar to the United States Senate. It has less members than the state house. And they usually serve a longer term. Most commonly, it's going to be 4 years. They also only work part-time. Okay, so we're going to go over the process of how a law gets passed. The simplified version of how a federal law gets passed is it goes from the House to the Senate to the Conference Committee to the President. And at the state level, there are some similarities. So what happens? A bill or an idea gets written. Then the bill is studied and debated by the committees. Then they have to vote on it. If it passes through one house, then it's going to get studied, and then it's going to get debated again. And then they're going to vote on it in the second house or the Senate. So right now, we're pretty similar, like going through the House, going through the Senate. But instead of going to the president for a state law, what it's going to do is it's going to go to the chief executive of the state, which is not the president. It's going to be the governor. And just like the president can veto a law, the governor can veto state laws too. So there are a couple of ways that regular citizens like you and me can get involved in getting laws passed and making changes in the government. One of those ways is called an initiative. And an initiative is a way for regular citizens to get a law passed. So what you would do if you had an idea you wanted to legalize marijuana for recreational use in Ohio, What you would do is you would write a proposal for a law. So you'd write a suggestion for a law, and then you have to go around and get people to sign a petition saying they support this initiative. And a petition is a document people sign saying they support something. It won't let me highlight petition, but you guys need to know that's a key word there. You got to collect signatures from people who live within the state that law is focused on. So if you were trying to get that law passed, I would not be able to sign your petition since I live in Pennsylvania. If they get enough signatures on the petition, the next time there is an election or it's time to vote, that law will be added to the election, and then the citizens can vote on whether or not that law or that initiative should pass. The next one is a referendum, and a referendum is probably the hardest one of the three to understand. A referendum is basically used to stop certain things from happening. So let's say that we hear a rumor that the government is going to pass a law that makes it so if you are texting or talking on your phone while you're driving, you get a $5,000 fine. And some people think that is way too harsh. What we could do is use an initiative. An initiative is similar, a referendum is similar to an initiative. What you would do is you write up the petition, get a bunch of people to sign it, and then if you get enough signatures, instead of the House and the Senate voting on it, their power is taken away and the regular citizens get to vote on whether or not that law should pass. A referendum can also be used to stop a law from going into effect, but it must be used before that law starts. So let's say they pass a law making that cell phone fine starting in the year 2021. So right around the corner. So we would have to use a referendum now and get enough signatures to stop it before that law takes effect. The last one is a little bit easier to understand. It's called a recall. And in a recall, think about it like, have you ever heard of a product getting recalled? Products or, toys, food, it gets recalled when there's something wrong with it. A recall can be used if someone is working in our government and we find out they're not doing a good job, they're doing something wrong. So what you would do, if you find out that the governor is doing some shady stuff, taking bribes, you start a petition. If you get enough signatures on that petition, he does not lose his job, but a brand new election is held, and anyone is free to challenge him. So if someone can get more votes than him, if someone can get more votes than that guy, they would take the job from him. Okay, the last one we're going to talk about is some people using initiatives in California to get some changes made. Actually, no, we're going to hold off. We're going to do that tomorrow. Okay, guys, so I need you to go into Google Classroom, and you're going to work on Chapter 11, Lesson 1.